Good day to everyone and welcome to this new video podcast of the ITSS members series. We are Rebecca and Michele from the Africa team, and today we will talk about South Africa and its international role. For this episode, we are delighted to host Mr. Riaan Eksteen from the University of Johannesburg. Mr. Eksteen has been a member of the South African Foreign Service for 27 years, and he served at the South African Embassy in Washington, D.C. He was also ambassador and head of mission at the UN New York, Namibia, UN Geneva, and Turkey. I would like to start by expressing our gratitude to our guests for accepting our invitation and for sharing his high-level experience and knowledge with us. Thank you very much to be here with us today, Mr. Eksteen. In this interview, we would like to better understand South African foreign policy and if there are differences between other African countries. For that reason, the title of this encounter is South Africa Strategies in the International Arena. Is it an atypical African country? So we would like to start our interview with a quick snapshot of the situation in the country. So, Mr. Eksteen, what is the position of South Africa within the BRICS? And how has the COVID pandemic affected internal relations between countries?
First of all, thank you very much for this kind opportunity to speak to you and to share my limited experiences that I've had internationally with you, and also that you may gain some new perspectives on South Africa after this interview. South Africa, like every other country in the world, has been directly affected by COVID-19. It has changed quite a lot of situations in South Africa. Domestically, it is a huge problem in South Africa. Internationally, it is also one that has, again, South Africa, not much credit in the world, but a lot of headaches. Just to mention one before I come to South Africa's position in BRICS, just the one aspect of COVID-19 that has affected South Africa internationally tremendously is that as of today, South Africa is still on the red list of the United Kingdom for South Africans to travel to the United Kingdom. But that is also the case from other African countries. Now, the British High Commission in Namibia yesterday said that, yes, it may change, but when will it change? Every day that passes, no South African can go to the United Kingdom unless he stays or she stays for 10 days in quarantine. Now, no businessman can travel to London to go and do business personally, stay 10 days in quarantine, even if they had been twice vaccinated. That is the craziest part of this exercise with the United Kingdom, that even if you have been vaccinated twice, they still do not accept that, and you have to stay in quarantine. Now, the tourism business in South Africa is a big segment and contributing quite a huge percentage to the GDP. Now, traditionally, we've had in South Africa a very strong relationship with the United Kingdom, and quite a lot of families in South Africa. They have families in the United Kingdom and work in the United Kingdom and vice versa. And also the tourism business from the United Kingdom has been quite a significant contributor to the effect that British Airways and Virgin had about, amongst them, about 12 flights a week or more to South Africa, to Johannesburg and Cape Town. So COVID-19 has played havoc with South Africa internally and externally. So that is, but it is not that South Africa is the only country in the world that is suffering from COVID-19. That is just to explain to you the South African situation. There are other countries that may even be more affected and more drastically affected. So we do not plead any special circumstances or any special treatment. It is just to to tell you how it has affected South Africa. Now, coming back to the position of South Africa and BRICS, let me just go back a little bit on South Africa's relations with China. Up to 1994, South Africa had diplomatic relations with the Republic of Taiwan, and not with the mainland China. Sorry, I just use those expressions to make the difference between the two. So when President Mandela was inaugurated as president and South Africa became a democratic state, so to say, the relations with Taiwan was broken, and a new relationship followed between South Africa and China. So there were immediate diplomatic relations, exchange of ambassadors, and the Chinese then started using their influence in South Africa and bringing business into South Africa, and upset to a certain extent quite a lot of activities in South Africa. The imports from China, let me just be very frank about that, they were very cheap imports from China. Let me just use one example. In the case of textiles, quite a lot of clothing, shoe wear, whatever, were brought into South Africa from China with lower tariffs, etc., to the extent that the textile industry in the Western Cape, in Cape Town area, more or less collapsed. And a lot of people out of work, very good textile products that were produced there, that just went down the drain. So the Chinese had quite a lot of influence in South Africa, and also diplomatically, because the ANC that formed the government credited China for quite a lot of support during the so-called struggle for independence or for democracy in South Africa. And so they owed a certain amount of gratitude towards China, and they mentioned that China was then their friend. So that was just a backdrop to that. Now, over the years, then BRIC became a reality with Brazil and Russia and India and China. And then South Africa decided that for better or for worse, I have to use that expression because it was not always for better, it was also for worse, to become a member of BRICS. I think that the South African government at that time thought that they're going to get quite a lot out of that organization and that association with BRICS. Yes, eventually there was also the BRICS Bank that was established, and South Africa got certain finances or financial benefits out of the BRICS Bank. But overall, I'm not yet 100% sure that South Africa has really benefited to the extent that they anticipated that they would benefit out of BRICS. They have bilateral relations in any case with each of the other countries. When BRIC was formed, there was a different government and president and political dispensation in Brazil. Lula was the president. Now, with BRICS, there is a different dispensation. There's a different president that had a completely different view of matters. I don't want to go into Brazil internal politics, but I think that you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. If you can just think about his views on COVID-19, etc., etc. So with Russia, India, and China, they have bilateral relations to a very great extent with South Africa. The ANC also had good relationship with Russia, during the years prior to 94. The same with India and then also with China, then after 94. The fact of the matter with India is that there is quite a significant Indian population in South Africa, and they are more or less concentrated in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, in the Durban area, and that they're also in other parts of South Africa, obviously in Gauteng, Johannesburg, and Pretoria. But originally they came to that part of South Africa in Natal, the Durban area. So South Africa had a good relationship with India. So what I'm trying to say to you is that with each of the countries, when South Africa joined BRICS, they had a good relationship. Now, things in BRICS have also changed. There are also quite a lot of pressures on the individual countries, and I'm not so sure that BRICS is really benefiting South Africa to a great extent. I want to mention two institutes to you that you can perhaps in the course of today or later on, whenever you want to consult the websites, that you will get more information about BRICS and South Africa. And the one is BRICS Think Tank. It is in Johannesburg. And the other one is the Institute of Global Dialogue, and that is located in Pretoria. So with those two websites, I think that you can get more or less an up-to-date situation on South Africa and BRICS. I do not want to say that BRICS is not a good institution, but it is a question whether you can get benefit out of an institution. And you cannot just join a club, to get benefit. You also have to contribute. And I'm not so sure whether the BRICS partners are getting enough out of South Africa, or through BRICS, that they're not already getting bilaterally from South Africa. So I think that is an overview of South Africa and BRICS.
Thank you very much for the explanation.
Thank you very much. Keep talking about South African international role, its relation with the Western countries, and in particular with the United States, are crucial. On the basis of your experience in Washington, D.C., how are relations with the United States? Will there be any changes in the South Africa-United relationship with the new Biden administration?
Yes, well, the relationship between South Africa and the United States has always been one of on and off, hot and cold. Over the years, South Africa had difficult periods with the United States. During the Carter administration, it was very serious. I was ambassador at the United Nations during that time. Carter saw South Africa through the prism of human rights. And for him, it was just a question of human rights and nothing more. So he was very, very critical about South Africa, etc. Then the Reagan administration came into power. And then it changed. They saw South Africa more in the context of the Cold War and the struggle with the Soviet Union, and not for the Soviet Union to get more foothold and a stronger position in Southern Africa. At that particular time, it was also the question of the Western proposals for the independence of Namibia that we worked on in New York, the implementation of Resolution 435. Then with the Reagan administration, they put a halt, so to say, to the implementation of that. And they started with South Africa discussing a new approach to the question. taking a more geostrategic and a geopolitical view of the situation of Southern Africa and the role that South Africa is playing in the subcontinent in that respect. So eventually it boiled down to the question of the withdrawal of the Cubans from Angola. Under 435, under the Carter administration, there was not even a reference to that. With the Reagan administration, it came to that one particular point. What would you, South Africa, do when we get the Cubans out of Angola? So we told them straight, if that is the case, then we have a totally new ball game, and then we can proceed, because then with that you remove the threat of communist expansion and Cuban expansionism in Southern Africa. Remove that, and Namibia can become independent. That is a very short analysis of that. Namibia became independent, and that is thanks to that situation. Now, after the Reagan administration, you had a short spell of the first Bush administration, not much changed. Then with the Carter administration, also it changed a lot. South Africa in '94 became a democratic country. President Mandela became president, and he and Clinton had a very good relationship. Personally, they had a very good relationship. So much so that when Clinton was in the middle of his impeachment, it was Mandela that gave him support and encouraged him, to stay strong and to keep fighting. So had it not been for Mandela, I think that Clinton had not had the moral support that he would have had without Mandela. But be that as it may, after that, then we got the Bush administration. The Bush administration was too much involved after 9/11 with the war on terror. South Africa did not feature very much in that regard. Although we came to South Africa on a state visit, and they started giving a lot of assistance for AIDS victims in South Africa. After that, the Obama administration came. He came to South Africa. I think South Africa expected much more from the Obama administration. Eventually, I don't think that South Africa got that much out of the Obama administration as the people hoped for when he was first inaugurated. After the Obama administration, we had the Bush administration. I had the Trump administration. That was also rather insignificant because, well, Trump didn't have a great respect or view of South Africa, and he more or less classified South Africa with other countries, what he called, excuse the expression, shithole countries. So South Africa was not very much on his agenda. Now with the Biden administration, everybody thought, that come the Biden administration, he will change because he had been in the Senate for donkeys of years with the Senate Foreign Relations Committee that he was chairman and he was vice president, etc. He had a tremendous resume in foreign affairs, and now things will start changing, and South Africa will get the benefit of a better relationship with the United States. But now things developed not out of South Africa's making, but out of other makings, that even if South Africa was on his agenda, number one or number two or number three, I don't know when he started out, South Africa is definitely not in that position anymore. South Africa, if South Africa is number 10 on his list, then I would be surprised. You know what happened, in the past couple of weeks. He has so many things on his plate in foreign relations that he certainly cannot spend too much time, even with his Secretary of State spending too much time. And as I speak now, I stand to be corrected, but I don't think that an Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs has yet been confirmed by the Senate. In any case, there is no South African ambassador in Pretoria. So that just gives you an indication of where South Africa stands with the United States. The United States will probably lift the impediment on South Africans coming to the United States with this COVID business, so that they can come and perhaps then also more tourists out of the United States. But one should not make too much out of tourism, because for 18 months people have not traveled, and now all of a sudden, you know, it is not like a tap that you can open and then the water starts flowing. You can fill your glass and drink water. It's going to take a long time before that tap runs full and you can get the full benefit out of tourism again. So the relationship with the United States is a complicated one. Complicated in the sense that not much is happening. It's not complicated because it's difficult. It's because it's nothing is happening. You know personally, in your personal life, what it is. If we have nothing, then it can be very difficult to handle if we have nothing. But if you have a difficult situation, you can handle it, you can get somewhere. So that is in some the situation with the relationship with the United States.
Thank you very much for your clear answer and for your overview. To conclude our interview, we would like to ask you something about the future of South African international relations and its role within other African countries. So, what role does South Africa aim to play within international organizations, and would it have the possibility of pursuing the interest of the African continent with greater force? Thank you very much.
Thank you. South Africa has gained quite a significant amount of credibility internationally and in international organizations in the past 25 years. South Africa in the United Nations is a respected member of the organization. South Africa has had 2 opportunities to be on the Security Council for 2 years as non-permanent members. It played an important role in the United Nations, in the specialized agencies also. South Africa plays an important role with all of them. They're all represented also with the IMF and with the World Bank. South Africa is in very much contact with the IMF and also for certain assistance under the COVID-19 contributions that the IMF can make to countries suffering from this COVID-19. In Africa, South Africa plays a very significant role, and we have to look at 1 or 2 aspects of that. First of all, you have the Organization of African Unity, or the Africa Union based in Addis Ababa. Now, South Africa is a member of that group and is a leading member of that group. The President of South Africa is always seen as being a leader in some respects and in certain crucial conflicts in Africa. You can take that more to the Central African area of Burundi and Rwanda at that time. Also in the Zaire area. Also in the Sudan, the South Sudan area, South Africa played a role. So in the organization itself, South Africa is a leading member. But then you also have in Southern Africa what is called the South African Development Cooperation Commission, SADC. So South Africa is perhaps the leader in SADC. It has the strongest economy in SADC, although South Africa, perhaps in Africa as such, is no longer the strongest economy. I think that Nigeria may now be in a stronger position than South Africa. And there's always been, on a bilateral level, quite a lot of competition between South Africa and Nigeria as to who is the leader in Africa. If you think only on sub-Saharan Africa, but if you think of Africa as a whole, then you have to put Egypt into the equation. So there's always a kind of a three-way competition. Who is the strongest leader in Africa? And you add that with Egypt, especially under Mubarak. Not so much now under Sisi. He has other points on his agenda that he has to think of, and not as a kind of a global figure or a regional African figure. So in SADC, it is also important for South Africa to take a leading role. And there are also difficulties in SADC that South Africa has to play a role. If you think back a couple of months ago, it is still ongoing, but it is not in the news that much. The situation in northern Mozambique, with the situation of Total and the Islamic people, attacking the gas installations, and there was quite a significant loss of life. And South Africa and some of the other SADC countries with Mozambique and Botswana and also Namibia tried to get the force together to play a role there. So in Africa, as a regional organization, South Africa stands strong. It has a strong reputation to maintain. But regionally in Southern Africa, South Africa is perhaps the strongest leader in SADC, and SADC is important not only in a political sense, but when you think of in which fields SADC branches out in the economic field and also in the socio-economic field, it is a very, very important organization.
Thank you very much, Mr. Eksteen, for your contributions and your really clear explanation. I'm really glad to have you host you. And I don't know if there are some questions or doubts from Michele, but for me it was really, really clear and really a special contribution. So thank you so much. I don't know, Michele, if you have some questions or doubts.
No, also for me, it was very, very inspiring and very clear. So thank you very much, Mr. Eksteen.
Thank you. If you want to do it again, please let me know. It was nice talking to you, and I'm glad to share my experiences with you. So if you want to do it again, let me know.
Surely,
okay,
surely. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Do keep well and look after yourself and stay healthy.
Thank you so much. You too.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for all other ITSS initiatives here on YouTube and on our official website. So have a nice day. Thank you again, Mr. Riaan Eksteen.
You can send me the link to YouTube if you put it on YouTube.
Yeah, of course.
Sure, yeah.
Okay, right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Have a
nice day. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.